button. Ha! Happy New Year, everybody. Do stuff with Nikki here. I'm gonna do a quickie. I've been trying to do this darn thing all day. And I apologize in advance if you hear a lot of loud noises in the background. Fireworks are legal here in Florida. So, it might get a little bit noisy because it's starting to get a little bit late here. So, we're going to be talking about this. But not the one I'm smoking right now. Yep, before you bust my balls, I always say we roll our own. Alright, well, I want to do a quickie on tobacco tea juice. Not for human consumption, for your garden. And one of the plants or crops that, as a prepper, everybody should grow. Seriously. I made some notes so I wouldn't forget, but I think we'll be alright here. So anyway, I'm gonna have to do different clips and seam them together because I have a pot in the kitchen ready to go. I'm gonna show you how I measure it out and do it. And it's really super simple once you learn how to do it. But I wanted to make a few points before, you know, we turn the camera around, go in there, and you see all that messy stuff. Like I said, we roll our own. So my tobacco is 100% natural, organic, right out of the dirt. No pesticides, no chemicals, no nothing. You can make these kind of teas and juices I'm talking about with like just butts, like, you know, like here in your ashtray, your expended butts that you extinguish. You can do that. You can throw all of that in the pot. But I wouldn't do it, you know, with commercial cigarettes. I really wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, maybe some people have success with it. I just don't want to spray that stuff on my plants because I'm talking purely for pests and pesticide reasons right now. Because they have a lot of chemicals in them. A lot. Like 500 or something. It's fucking crazy. So, but, you know, if you have access to more natural tobacco, and they do sell it in the stores, like the native, what do they call it? American Spirit, native something, whatever. I forget what they're called. Those are natural, pretty much. Not quite as natural as the bag full of loose tobacco I get, but it's right about there. So anyway, I would caution against using that, but I suppose you could try it. And definitely, I would actually do that in one instance that I use it in, and why I make it is for iguana repellent. And it'll kill them too if they eat a leaf with this stuff sprayed on there. They're highly sensitive and to nicotine. It'll kill them. And so once I learned about that, I said, well, heck, you know, I was spraying tobacco juice on tea juice, whatever you want to call it, on some of my plants in the garden to repel pests. But I found out that it kills these little bastards. So, hey, saves me a lot of shots and aggravation. But no, it gets bad because sometimes if I have to go off to work and I can't be here keeping control on the iguana thing, you know, I'll come back and half a bush is obliterated. And since I started spraying as an experiment some of those bushes, like some of the ones along my fence line there, with this shit, instead of just using it on my regular plants, they stopped chewing them. They won't do it. I mean, they are pretty smart, so maybe they did try and chew it, and Cousin Eddie told Cousin Iguana, like, yo, man, you're gonna die if you eat that shit, so don't eat it. I have no idea. Anyway, so there's few things. I mean, one of the main ones is I've never made tobacco tea out of you know, commercial cigarettes. So that's the first point. The second one is a lot of commercial growers or larger farmers do know about nicotine sprays. It's used in commercial farming. But the thing is, it's really, really potent, and it will kill beneficial insects. The type of tea that I make is considered a weak tea. Because it's already like dried and cured tobacco and or expended tobacco, or like at the end of your butt, whatever. And then the way you make it, which I'll tell you again, is you either can steep it for like 30 minutes in a pot of water. Or I put it on the stove because, bam, in a few minutes it's done and I take it off. And so, where was I going with that before I went to the cooking thing? God, see? God, if I had a brain, I'd be dangerous. Oh, the potency, right. Wow. And I haven't even started drinking yet. Well, I have, kind of, but it doesn't count because it's small and it's weak. All right. I wanted to finish this first. So anyway, you want a weaker solution if you guys are looking at it for the purposes of repelling pests in your garden. So tobacco is like really useful. This tobacco tea that I make against whitefly, gnats, aphids, root and leaf aphids, thrips, leaf miners. You know them. You see your leaves with the little lines going through them like somebody's trying to draw something, like Picasso got into your bush or something. Those is very effective against that. And so I'm not the only clip I'm not going to show you is actually once it's in the sprayer to go out and spray, because you all know how to spray a damn leaf, you know. So you can go, you know, I go out there, I usually spray the underside. Sometimes if I have a real problem, I'll spray the whole darn thing. Don't do it in the direct sunlight, super duper heat, because even though it's weak, it's still, you're spraying something on there, you know. Do it in the early morning or even at the end of the day, you know. You spray the undersides of the leaves. You know, if you have a heavy infestation, you can go all over. You spray the stems. And for those of you that have got the root aphids and several other pests that are down in there like that, you can do a little drench right around the plant too, without a problem. So you should be fine. But, and again, this isn't something that, you know, you want to use every day on your plants like face cream, you know what I'm saying? Use it sparingly, because it's very effective. And then the other thing I would say too is that you'll read a lot of things where people go, don't use it on your tomatoes and your peppers and what have you. I do, and I don't have any problems. The only thing I am cautious with on tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants and all those things, in the nightshade family, by the way, tobacco is in the nightshade family. They're related to tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and things like that. It's a nightshade. It's probably why its leaves are so deadly. I'm cautious spraying them when they've got flowers. So try not to, you know, get in the flowers and all, because you got your insects that maybe want to go, and even though they're self-pollinating, you got insects that still want to go hang out in there and stuff like that. So I'm not 100% sure about what that'll do to them, but I just don't do it anyway. I'll hit the leaves, you know, as needed. But I've used it for forever on my tomatoes and peppers and things like that without a problem. And it's great because here in Florida, when it starts getting real hot and you shouldn't be growing tomatoes anymore, we get, I mean, shitload of whitefly problems. And we have monstrous aphid problems here too. And that helps it. Like you can see they make a pole out of a bean. They're running right up the damn thing, and this does really, really well. So and the other thing I wanted to tell you too is, man, I wanted to make this short. Me and my mouth. When I made my last batch in my pump sprayer, I added hot pepper to it, and I added garlic. I was just making a big, fat, crazy ass, you know, I'm going to kill the whole planet spray in my garden. But that, when I initially made it, it was for the iguanas, to spray all over the fence and back there, and I'm not using anything in that back corner or eating it, so it was a good experiment, you know. And it worked, but if you're going to add stuff like that in there, use it up. Don't leave it in your sprayer more than a day or two, because holy shit, it'll ferment in there, because I guess because of the hot peppers, right? And what you're putting in there, and man, I did that, and I forgot to clean it. I was sitting in there like a month, right? Because I didn't use all of it. And holy shit, man, I released the pressure, I unscrewed my thing, and when I opened it, Man, it smelled like an elephant took a shit on asphalt in the middle of August. I thought I was gonna pass the fuck out. It was awful. So yeah, it'll ferment in there and it will smell like crap. So, but if you're making just straight tobacco juice, tea, whatever you want to call it, you can leave it in there a while. Just shake it around every once in a while. But yeah, watch out when you start adding shit like hot peppers and everything, because for some reason the crap ferments and whew, it smells really bad. Don't like your mother-in-law, you can keep her away with that shit. So anyway, I'm sure there's a few more things that I probably wanted to tell you about that, but anyway, I made it mostly to repel it's toxic to rats and shit like that too. It's been helping with those little bastards. So if you can make it in big a little goes a long way. You'll see in a minute. If you can make it in big batches, heck, it works for a lot of vermin out there. Really does. I was really surprised. So I don't make it as often as I should, because I have more fun shooting the iguanas, but you know. Anyway, for organic gardening, a definite must. And by the way, you know, if you're a prepper, you know, nobody really knows what's going to happen this year. And whether you smoke or not, if you've got the climate, you gotta, I mean, Virginia, Kentucky, the Carolina, everywhere, Georgia, here, you know, wherever, just grow it, man. Because I'll tell you what, that's like gold coming out of the ground, you know. Little Billy needs some extra 22 LR supplies, you know, and you don't have it, and your buddy's got it, but you've got the tobacco. I'm seeing a trade happening, you know. Tobacco's worth its weight in gold. The old colonist will tell you that too, you know. And it's an extremely fast-growing plant. It's actually, it'll grow back on you. So, I believe, whatchamacallit, in certain areas it's grown like as an annual because of the way it's harvested, but it's actually a perennial. It is. And so you can cut it, cut and come again, right, is what they say. You can cut it, it'll come back. So it's a really useful plant in the prepper garden. And then the other thing is, if you're growing it for the leaves, you know, if you're a prepper and you've got a good crop going back there, you're growing it for the leaves, when it goes to flower, cut the flowers off. Unless you've got one monstrous plant that did really well, let that go to flower and save those seeds, because you're saving the best seeds. But on all the other ones, if you want to produce bigger leaves, yeah, chop off the flowers, and it'll keep putting all the energy into the leaves. But you know what? I'm going to make a whole nother video on how I grow it. It's super easy to grow once you get it seeded. Seeding it is a little tough because the seeds are like dust. But once you get them started, and there's a specific way to get them started, and you get them out there, super easy to grow. It's a no-brainer. And it's a big, gorgeous plant too. The pollinators love it. And it's a good trap plant too. If you don't even want to touch it and use it for pesticiding, you can square off like a corner. I know people have grown it, and again, they'll say, don't grow it near your tomatoes and all that shit. Crap. I've done it, it works. It's a trap plant. So if you have a good crop, and you want to grow it organically and let the bugs go at it, when I have tomato plants near tobacco plants, I've never had a bug problem. I've never had a bug problem on a tomato. Never. Because tobacco is a really good trap plant. So it's another thing to think about too, you know what I mean? Even if you don't want to sell it, smoke it, use it for pesticide, whatever, good trap plant, just saying. Yeah, so anyway, alright, so I'm going to stop this one for a minute, and we're going to go inside, and I'm going to show you how I do it and the measurements and all that stuff. And then I have to turn it off after that until it cools, and then I'll turn it on again and show you how I prep it to stick it in my sprayer. So okay, Happy New Year! Woo! Alright, don't know how happy it's going to be, but, and I'll see you inside. Love you guys. Alright, let me try this again. Alright, so here we are in the kitchen. I got my little pot here. I got my little tobacco scraps. Got a gallon of water. Basically, kind of the ratio you want. Even if you're using used up butts or whatever, I use loose yucky stuff that I've pulled up off the floor, because we roll our own. It makes a mess. It goes all over the floor and everywhere. So occasionally I pick it up, you know, and I gather it and I keep it in a tub here instead of throwing it out. But you can use butts and things like that. I'm going to get more into some other details about that in a minute, but the ratio generally is about a cup to a gallon of water to make a good weak tobacco juice or tobacco tea, whatever you want to call it. So you can see here I've got my kitchen measuring cup, and you'll see how much I've got in here. It's probably a little more than a cup, I don't know. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so yeah, it's just about a cup there. Oh, if I shake it around a little bit. And then I dump it in my pot. And take my water. Sorry about that. I'm one-handed here, so I dump the water in here. Now, you guys can do the butts and the your little cup of loose tobacco, whatever you use, and you can steep it. If you steep it, I'm not going to use a complete gallon here. I'm just going to do it this way. That's about a little more than 3/4 of a gallon right there. So, and then what I do is I turn my stove to, I like to do stuff fast, so kind of medium high. But I don't let it like boil, you know what I mean? You kind of want to get it there, and if you get a spoon in there and move it around, you'll see the water's dark. I'm going to keep doing this in snippets, so I'll show you what it looks like. So I let it go. Doesn't take that long. But again, if you don't want to do it the quick route like I do and cook it, and, you know, really quick and strain it, then you can just put your stuff in a pot and put it outside and let it set for 30 minutes. I kind of like this way because when you cook it with a little bit of heat for a few minutes really quick, it kind of extracts everything out just a little bit better, stronger, and faster. So, but not too strong, you know. So this can be going a few minutes, and then we're going to come back and I'll show you how I prep it for my spray. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's really easy, but basically that's a ratio. 1 cup of your tobacco scraps to 1 gallon or so, thereabouts, of water. 3/4 is about where I go with that. 3/4 of a gallon of water. And that's that. So we're going to be back in a minute. Alright guys, so we're back in the kitchen again now. Oh, and the stuff is ready. It's still a little bit hot. So I took it off the burner a little while ago. And if you look at it, kind of, hopefully it's not too dark in here, but oh, I got a red Nicky hair in there. If you look at it, it almost looks like the color of tea. Kind of makes you want to drink it, you know? So you see, it'll brew up pretty darn dark. And that's for that cup full of wacky tobacco I put in there. Alright, so, and you see, you know, nothing special. The tobacco's all still floating around in there. So what we're going to do is, I've got a pot, Grandma's old sieve. I actually put a paper in here because I do have a finer sieve. It's up to you, whatever you've got. Because if you're doing the tobacco right in the water, and you're not doing the butts and all that stuff, you're going to have a lot of tiny little pieces. And if you're using the pump sprayer like I've got in the sink here, I'm going to show you in a minute, it's going to clog shit up. So, you know, you may have to strain it 2 or 3 times. You know, it's pretty easy. So, I take my pot, and I'm going to strain it into here. Well, you can see when it's pouring out just how dark this actually gets. It's pretty amazing. It gets pretty dark. And you can see in the pot what's left. See how light the tobacco gets? Because everything just kind of cooks off. This is why I don't steep it. I told you guys you can steep it in warm water for 30 minutes. And that's fine if you have no other option. But this is why I cook it just for a few minutes, because it leaches out everything that's in the tobacco. And again, remember, this is natural tobacco now. There's no, you know, garbage in it. But you see how light color this tobacco is, you know, compared to what it was when it was in the, whoa, when it was in the, that looks like a dingleberry right there. Terrible. Anyway. So it leached everything out, and then we got this dark liquid left. And my little paper towel thing in the sieve works just fine. I usually only have to sieve it just once. So I've got some left in here, and I'm not going to make you wait for it all to drain out, because that's the sediment that's keeping it from draining down so quick. So I'm going to bring it back over here, and then I got my pot, and then that's just about it. Like I told you, this one's just going to be straight tobacco tea. The other one, when I did it, in the last 3 minutes of the pot going on the stove, I took some of my hot peppers from the garden and the garlic clove, which I crushed. Big one, the elephant, it's elephant garlic, so it's giant. That's the equivalent of about 3 normal-sized cloves. I crushed it and I threw that in there, so everything kind of cooked together. And then, you know, I dumped it all out in the pot, so you get a little bit of the garlic juice in there and all that, which is good for pesticide, you know. So anyway, so I take my bowl, and I've got my sprayer in here. Now, I wash this out. Like what I do when I wash this out, I always dump a shitload of detergent in here, and then it gets all sudsy. I don't worry about rinsing all the suds out. There's still some of them in here. Because the other thing is too, if you guys are using this as a pesticide on your leaves, instead of like I did the first time, just an anti-iguana thing, then having some dish liquid in there helps quite a bit. Because when it's in your sprayer, it'll help keep it stick to the leaves, you know what I mean? So in the ratios that I gave you before, you're doing like a cup of your tobacco duds or whatever to 3/4 to a gallon of water, you want to do about 8 to 10 drops of dish liquid. I just eyeball it. But I still have suds in here, you know, and so I'll put a couple more in here on the bottom. Not much. You know what? You don't even have to if you don't want to. I just do it. It's just cool, because if you're going to do straight tobacco tea in here and you're going to let it sit, it's a good idea just to put a few drops of dishwashing liquid in there. Doesn't hurt your plants. And then that's it. So, you know, I lost a little bit in there, but in my pump sprayer here, that's about how much I get from boiling down about 3/4 of a gallon. But the thing is, I put this on a semi-fine mist, so this can last you quite a long time. Again, a little bit with this stuff goes a long way, and like I said, you don't want to overdo it. This is not the kind of thing that you want to go spray on your plants obsessively when you see stuff. Spray, give it some time. It'll, you know, kill your pest and what have you. But don't go crazy and spray the shit out of your plants every 5 days. You know, you see bugs all over the place. It's not good. And again, early morning or early evening, spray it. You know, you don't want to spray it in the heat of the day if you're in the hot weather with bright sun. So it gets a chance to dry on the plant and whatever. It doesn't burn the plant, you know, if the bright sun's hitting it. For those of you in hotter climates like I am, I'm in Florida. So that's about all there is to it, you know. It's pretty easy if you just do the simple tea thing, throw it in a strainer, toss it in your sprayer, and you're off to bug killing assassination in less than 30 minutes. If you cook it like I do. And that's a good thing. More bug assassination means more food for you. So, stay green. Little wild and dirty doesn't hurt either. Happy New Year, everybody. And, you know, try some tobacco sometimes. It can be good. Love you guys. Nikki out.